Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7. So here we are, 1,500 episodes. It's 1,500 numbered episodes. It's not actually the number of episodes that I've done. It's actually 1,547 with this one, with bonus episodes and an episode 0 origin episode as well. And so roughly about one extra episode a month or so on top of the daily episodes, which is pretty cool, although they come in bunches, really, because of things like, say, Star Wars Celebration, for example. So rather than have a big foofara about, wow, 1,500 episodes, it is pretty amazing, as it always is, to hit a big round number like this. But I was at Boston Comic-Con on Friday, and over the years on the podcast, we've talked about Star Wars fandom and about my own particular ways of thinking about fandom and how I approach talking about Star Wars. I think if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you probably know by now that I tend to accentuate the positive, as the old song goes, and try to look at the bright side of things. That's not to say that there are things that don't occasionally bug me about a Star Wars movie or a novel or a story, or things that don't make sense to me. But, I don't tend to harp on these things so much as I tend to try to find the best in Star Wars and Star Wars fandom, for that matter, too. So, as I say, I was at Boston Comic-Con on Friday getting fun things like a Porgs stomping on lightsabers t-shirt, or an Admiral Akbar t-shirt that has him in a top hat with a monocle and a crazy curly mustache, and underneath it says, "It's an elaborate ruse." So, fun stuff like that. And I also went over to where the 501st and the Rebel Legion had set up shop at Boston Comic-Con, and I think they had probably the biggest and most extensive presence that they've had that I've seen there in recent years. They had a full-size K2SO there that was fully and completely 3D laser printed. 4,000 hours, I was told, that this thing took to be laser printed. It's absolutely stunning, and it's remarkable just the dedication to pull off something like that. And they had folks demonstrating things like how they were making their helmets with, the materials that they're using. There's basically a makerspace thing, and they had events that were planned for fans all weekend long. They also had a full cantina set up. Yeah, Wars Cantina from the original Star Wars. The whole bar, the U-shaped bar. And they had an alcove with an inflatable Greedo set up, so you could go take photos of yourself as Han Solo shooting Greedo first, of course. And, the laser pistol there for you as a prop. They also had the R2-D2 builders around with a few different examples of R2 units, and also an R5-D4 and a chopper there. They also had a Dejar table set up with hot glued little transparent blue figures on it to make it look like there were holograms, and of course, lots of folks in costume. But the thing of it is that even when you see a First Order Stormtrooper or an Imperial officer or a Rebel pilot or a Jedi or a Sabine Wren, you see these folks and they're dressed up, but when you talk to them, you find out that in many cases, there's more than one costume that they're rocking. Like, they've spent time creating screen-accurate renditions of multiple costumes, and very often are creating both light side and dark side costumes as well. So they're not just identifying only with the 501st Legion, the bad guys doing good, or with the Rebel Legion, the good guys doing good. But, they're playing both sides of the fence. They're indulging in their love of Star Wars and bringing that love of Star Wars to a captive audience at Boston Comic-Con that's walking through the exhibit hall. Now, there are experiences that you can have with Star Wars fandom, whether you're a fan or you're not a fan, like this, and I cannot think of a pure way to experience Star Wars. I mean, maybe going to a place like, say, Disneyland, where you get to see all these Star Wars land things constructed, and the occasional Star Wars tours kind of ride, and I know Galaxy's Edge is being built, so it's going to be an even more immersive experience, and you see folks at Disney who are dressed up as the characters. But for my money, there's really nothing more complete than seeing fans who absolutely love the franchise and who know what it means to people around the world, even if they're just thinking about their own local community. In the case of the New England Garrison or Alderaan Base, those are the two New England focused versions of the 501st and the Rebel Legion. Like, they can see what it does, and not only that, but they're putting it to use in raising money for charity. They were raising funds for the Jimmy Fund at Boston Comic Con, and over on the 501st Legion's website, they're actually raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They have a goal of $501,000, makes sense, and they're already at $182,000 and counting. So it's so wonderful to see. And I was talking with an Imperial officer who, handed out a card and has, a very anonymous as some of the 501st Legion's what do you call it? Their trooper identification numbers go. But her real name is Jennifer, and she was talking about how she had been dressed up as a good guy earlier in the day, and now that she was out as an Imperial officer, she kept having to remember to keep the smile off her face, because that was what, obviously as you're an Imperial officer, you're kind of trying to be a little dour and tough and whatever, but just that spirit, the idea that, you're dressed in a Star Wars costume, you're greeting people who are excited to see you, and, that you can't even keep your own smile off your face because of what's happening in and around you and what you're a part of. Like, that was just so wonderful and beautiful and touching to me. And I just thought it was a fantastic thing. I'm so amazed at what the 501st and the Rebel Legion pull off every year that they go to Boston Comic Con, and it's just one of thousands of different things that all of these smaller units and detachments of the 501st and the Rebel Legion do all year long for people. So if you're out at an event of any kind and you see folks dressed up in Star Wars costumes on behalf of the 501st or the Rebel Legion, or even the Mandalorian Mercs, I know there are other costuming organizations there as well. I just know that you probably see more of the 501st and the Rebel Legion than anyone else, I think, at this rate. But if you see them, get your photos taken with them, post them on social media, and by all means donate to whatever cause it is that they are raising funds for at the time. It's one of the most incredible acts of charity and of fandom that exists in this world, and it's just so incredible to witness and to be a part of and to say, something about here on the podcast. So by all means, 501st501st.com and rebellegion.com to check out their websites. And hey, they will happily help you if you've ever thought that you wanted to dress up like a Star Wars character and do it in as close to a screen accurate way as possible. Then check them out. It might be easier than you think, and they are more than willing to help you out. And if you really want to take your maker skills to the next level, then check out the R2 Builders Club, folks. They are at astromech.net and also on Twitter at R2Builders. So yeah, great, amazing work that they do as well. So that's it. That's how I wanted to spend my 1500th episode, talking about some amazing folks who, they don't make headlines on a daily basis like the folks at Lucasfilm do, but they are doing as much to spread the joy of Star Wars in this world as anyone else on this earth. They are warming hearts constantly, and I got to see them again in their finest form at Boston Comic Con. So congratulations to the New England Garrison of the 501st and Alderaan Base, the New England version of the Rebel Legion. You guys are doing a fantastic job once again, and it is an honor to watch you guys work. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.